Hey everyone. On the afternoon of May 25, 1979, American Airlines Flight 191, a McDonnell Douglas DC-10, was scheduled to depart from Chicago O'Hare International Airport bound for Los Angeles. It was a typical Friday afternoon with clear skies and little wind, a perfect day for flying. The passengers, 258 in total, were a diverse group, some traveling for business, others for pleasure, and many simply looking forward to spending Memorial Day weekend in California. On board were 13 crew members, highly experienced pilots, flight attendants, and engineers who had completed countless flights with the same professionalism and dedication. The DC-10 itself was a modern marvel, a wide-body aircraft that had become the workhorse of many airlines in the 1970s. With its three-engine configuration, the DC-10 was designed to fly long-haul routes efficiently, carrying large numbers of passengers and cargo. American Airlines, like many other carriers, had embraced the DC-10 as part of its fleet, with Flight 191 being one of the numerous daily flights using the aircraft. At around 2:59 p.m., Flight 191 taxied out to runway 32R, one of the busiest runways at O'Hare. Everything seemed normal as the aircraft moved into position for takeoff. The captain, Walter Lux, was a seasoned aviator with over 22,000 flight hours, and he was accompanied by First Officer James Dillard and Flight Engineer Alfred Udovich. Together, they had over 45,000 hours of flying experience. As the plane began its takeoff roll, everything appeared to be routine. However, as the aircraft lifted off the runway, disaster struck. Just seconds after takeoff, at an altitude of around 300 feet, the number one engine on the left wing suddenly detached from the aircraft. Witnesses on the ground reported seeing the engine flip over the top of the wing and fall to the ground. What no one realized at the time was that this was not just an engine failure. The engine's departure had severed hydraulic lines, causing a complete loss of control over the left wing's leading-edge slats, as well as other critical systems. Inside the cockpit, Captain Lux and his crew would have immediately recognized that something had gone horribly wrong. The aircraft began rolling to the left, and the crew's efforts to stabilize the plane using the remaining two engines were futile. The loss of the left engine had critically impacted the aircraft's ability to generate lift on that side, and without control over the flaps or slats, the DC-10 became uncontrollable. In just 31 seconds after the engine separated, Flight 191 rolled completely over and plummeted to the ground. At 3:04 p.m., Flight 191 crashed into an open field near a trailer park in Elk Grove Township, just a few miles from the airport. The impact was catastrophic. The aircraft exploded on impact, creating a massive fireball that could be seen for miles. The force of the crash was so great that debris was scattered over a wide area, and several nearby trailers were also damaged or destroyed. In total, 271 people lost their lives that day, 258 passengers and 13 crew members on board, as well as 2 people on the ground. The immediate aftermath of the crash was chaotic. Firefighters, paramedics, and first responders rushed to the scene, but there were no survivors. The intensity of the fire, fueled by the aircraft's full load of fuel, made rescue efforts nearly impossible. It was one of the darkest days in American aviation history, and the shock of the accident reverberated throughout the country. As news of the crash spread, the question on everyone's mind was, what caused this seemingly routine flight to end in such tragedy? The National Transportation Safety Board, NTSB, launched an investigation within hours of the crash, and what they found would forever change the way airlines and maintenance crews handled aircraft. One of the first things investigators discovered was that the engine separation was not a result of a flaw in the engine itself. Rather, the pylon holding the engine to the wing had failed. The DC-10's engine was mounted to the wing using a pylon structure, and it was this pylon that had broken, causing the engine to detach. Further investigation revealed that the failure of the pylon was linked to a maintenance procedure used by American Airlines. In an effort to save time, American Airlines had been removing the DC-10's engines and pylons as a single unit during routine maintenance, rather than removing them separately as recommended by McDonnell Douglas, the aircraft's manufacturer. This shortcut put excessive stress on the pylon structure, particularly during reinstallation. Over time, small cracks developed in the pylon, weakening it until, on that fateful day, it gave way completely. This revelation was a bombshell. Not only did it explain why the engine had detached, but it also raised serious concerns about the safety of other DC-10s in service. American Airlines was not the only carrier using this maintenance procedure, and the NTSB feared that other aircraft could be at risk of similar failures. As a result, the entire DC-10 fleet was grounded worldwide, and emergency inspections were ordered for all aircraft. The grounding of the DC-10 fleet had massive repercussions for the airline industry. Hundreds of flights were canceled, and airlines scrambled to find alternative aircraft to continue their operations. The financial impact on both airlines and manufacturers was significant, but the safety of passengers was paramount. The inspections revealed that other DC-10s had similar issues with their pylons, and corrective measures were quickly implemented. The investigation also highlighted the importance of proper training and communication between manufacturers and airlines. McDonnell Douglas had issued maintenance guidelines that should have prevented this type of accident, but these guidelines were not always followed. In the case of Flight 191, the deviation from recommended maintenance procedures proved fatal. In the years following the crash, changes were made to both aircraft design and maintenance procedures. The DC-10 continued to serve for several more decades, but it was always overshadowed by the tragedy of Flight 191. Over time, the aircraft's safety record improved, but the memory of that dark day in 1979 remained etched in the minds of those who worked in aviation. For the families of the victims, the loss was immeasurable. Memorials were held in both Chicago and Los Angeles, and a permanent memorial was erected near the crash site. The victims of Flight 191 were remembered not just for the tragedy that took their lives, but for the changes their loss brought to aviation safety. Today, the legacy of Flight 191 lives on in the stricter safety protocols, improved maintenance standards, and better communication between airlines and manufacturers that have made flying safer for everyone. While the crash of Flight 191 was a turning point for aviation safety, it also served as a reminder of the inherent risks of flight. Aircraft, though designed with multiple redundancies and safety features, are still vulnerable to the human and mechanical factors that can lead to disaster. However, each accident provides valuable lessons, and the aviation industry has become safer as a result. In conclusion, the crash of American Airlines Flight 191 was a tragedy of unimaginable proportions. It claimed the lives of 273 people and left an indelible mark on the history of aviation. But it also spurred significant improvements in aircraft safety and maintenance procedures, ensuring that future generations would benefit from the hard lessons learned on that fateful day. The victims of Flight 191 will never be forgotten, and their legacy lives on in the safer skies we enjoy today. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to subscribe and hit the like button. Also, make sure to turn on the notification bell so you'll be the first to know when the next video is posted.